This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. It's virtually in indoor series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, or as most fans know it, Mosport. This circuit to the northeast of Toronto is a rarity in the world of racing today. Safety standards and the desire for more overtaking opportunities has caused most tracks to alter their layouts over the years. But Mosport is still exactly the same footprint as it was when it was built in 1961. A mere 11 turns, most of which are high-speed sweepers, are dispersed among 2.5 miles, or just shy of 4 kilometers. The only alterations to the turns have been to the runoff areas, but otherwise the radii, camber, and elevation changes are all untouched. Because cars have continued to get faster through the passage of time, it's made this place a fearsome beast to tackle. Clayton Corner is particularly notorious. The blind crest and steep plunge combined with incredibly high speeds to create a punishing combination. Without many heavy braking zones, passing is often difficult. And other than using the slipstream up the Mario Andretti Straight, the only other option is usually Moss Corner. This double apex hairpin is named after Sir Sterling Moss for his suggestion to redesign it after he saw its initial layout. While the plateau-like middle portion and critical exit onto the backstretch certainly give it plenty of character, the heavy compression at the bottom of the hill that causes a frighteningly short braking zone makes this one not for the faint of heart. Formula One, USAC, and IMSA have all taken their turns here, but recently NASCAR has joined the fray by holding a round for the Truck Series. Old school fans can rejoice for the enduring popularity of this bastion of untouched tarmac, but any motorsports enthusiast can't help but smile at the thrill Mosport continues to provide.
last week we had another Ian Gibson maneuver where he went the whole race without having to use a pit stop. Open setup, so these kinds of guys are the kind of guys that will, if you're struggling a little bit, they'll give you their setups and you'll be able to go and get going pretty easily. Round 6 is going to be key for these guys. It is past the halfway point now. If this race is to be sort of counted in, they do have a drop week, but you have to be careful. Every single point counts.
Indeed, and as you can see, we're in the last stages of qualifying, but as you can imagine, it's been all about the slipstream here today, and well, many of it carrying out of this corner, which it seems like a lot of drivers having trouble with. They're going off of Moss, and then they all try to tuck in the line. This is Loureiro, Arabian, Reese, and McGill all together here, and actually swapping sides. That's Artur in the 203, trying to grab what he can off of Arabian. Whoa, and you got to stay on the track there, Antonio. That one's going to be deleted, unfortunately for him. He's just down in 4th overall in the qualifying.
My Simon Mayer, though, he's the only person to actually break the 1 minute 40 barrier. He did a 1:39.8 flat compared to Arabian, who did a 1:40.001. So he's ever so close for him, but I think he's trying to get on that first step just so he can have the balance of power going into the first corner. He can try and dictate how that first few turns will go for him. But unfortunately, Simon Mayer sits on top of him, and you can just see that's a very wide track, Joe. There's plenty of space.
Yeah, very wide track, and the drivers will only have to use the brakes once over the course of the lap, from as much as we can tell. Coming around Moss once again. Oh, and going way off there. Dantas in the 32 is going to have to try and cycle back around. He's going to lose the slipstream as well of this pair, Butanga and Vince Ball. Back there. Thankfully, a much enriched field here today at Mosport. So even though it's a big track, well, we have a few more drivers to try and fill things out. And there is the swap around, as we see a little bit more of a problem for Dantas, maybe getting distracted coming up the hill. As the time runs out, this is it. Let's see who can go quicker than Mayer. And the first ones to take that checkered flag are going to be Butanga and Vince Ball. Johan currently sitting in 16th out of White's corner, and across the line, he's got a 41 flat to his name, and this one not going to be any quicker behind him. Looks like Ball also not able to improve. And Arabian's actually coming around now, but he doesn't have any slipstream. I highly doubt he's going to be able to go quicker, and no, he's going to abandon into pit lane. Loureiro and Mayer do as well. Looks like Brayler is helping along Davidson. Both of them coming down into pit lane, unhappy with the qualifying. Raleigh Foster will stay out there and try to complete the lap. He's in 24th in the 8:15. So we're watching some more drivers up the backstretch. Foster not able to go any quicker, unfortunately. And looks like Ian Gibson going to be our next one. That's Gradwell slowing along the backstretch. And Gibson also slowing down, and Dalo trying to steal whatever slipstream he can off the back of him, but now he's weaving, so I'm guessing he is not going to have a hot one. And then it's Paul Jackson, the last driver, I think, able to set a time.
Yeah, I was very surprised that a lot of them actually did go ahead and abandon their last laps. I mean, they would have been able to come around once again if they wanted to practice a pit stop. That would have been the sort of if you were on the critical lap, and if you wanted to eke out just even a smidgen more, would have been to do that one final do or die lap, come into the pit, or go around once again, go into the pits and practice your pit stops then. But I think everybody has just decided, nope, it's not good enough. We're gonna do pit stops this time around. And you just see it's not the widest pit entry ever. It'll be all right for these cars, but watch out for that tires on the outside. If you hit them, a wheel's going to definitely come off, maybe two.
Yeah, I was going to say, pit entry practice to me seems a valuable skill here today, because there's so few places where you can make the difference out there, and that might wind up being one of them. We'll get 5 minutes of warm up here after the qualifying, so the drivers will have more time to practice. I mean, speaking of pit lane, though, it's not just that pit entry that's going to make the difference. We talk about this a lot in this series, and here today it's going to be probably that times 10 is the fuel saving, Rob. Who is going to try and be smart? Who is going to sit and battle back and forth up at the front? We've seen a few drivers that do like to kind of swap back and forth because they feel like it's more fun. So I guess do you go for the fun today or do you go for the strategy?
Well, if it's always a critical question. Do you sit back and watch the race come to you, or do you try and make the race go to you, or you try and go to the race? It depends. Simon Mayer, he's definitely going to be one of those guys that he just wants to get up and go. He's going to hold himself true to that, I believe, especially given the fact that he's got somebody like Farns Arabian already chatting at his feet going, you know, that P1, the S1 is looking very nice. Can I have it, please? And he's not going to let him sleep on the track, you know, and it would be really foolish for Simon Mayer to do so. And especially, I would actually put in Antonio Rees on that as well, because blistering as he is, he can't afford to let up now, because if he does, we saw what happened last season where Farns Arabian had a big old slip up, and it was looking for a very short while that Mr. Gibson will come back and almost try and sneak the championship right from underneath him. But Gibson just couldn't get to the goalposts, especially given the fact this back straight. That is going to be a key overtaking point. So they need to be awake for all of it, even if it is a lot of them using the right foot loudness pedal. There's still tactics. You still need to make the great pit stop of your life. You still need to be as fast as you are on the outfield. And look at this. You need to be as quick as you can.
You call it the loud pedal. I'm not sure if is it still counted as a loud pedal on these little things? They're not even all that ear splitting as you ride in them. So as we hop on board with Hoffman, continuing on around with a very higher level inspired paint scheme on his car, and you can see, look at this. He's still taking some time to finally get into fourth gear on this climb. They're not powerful. They start to lose a little speed climbing this hill.
And that's why it's so effective to have slipstream up here, because you are eliminating one of the two factors. You're climbing up the hill, and you're climbing up the hill, especially if the wind is against you, you're going to be exceptionally slow going through the gears. And especially around here, like this track is meant to hold much bigger cars than this, much more beefier cars, and it's like having a little RC car going around the Nordschleife, for instance. It's going to take you a long time to do that lap, methinks.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen GT cars do, I think it's like 117s around here. Well, they're running in the 139s, 140s in these cars. So that tells you how much oomph that they lack as we get ready to finish up the warm-up. Before we do, though, let's take a look at the weather, because you mentioned if they have a wind. They do have a little bit. It's nothing super drastic. It's just 8 miles per hour, 14 kilometers per hour there from the northwest. And it's pretty decent track conditions. It's not super hot, with maybe a tiny bit of humidity here up in the Canadian north. So, and actually, I need to check my directions to figure out which way is the northwest or north now that it's shifted around, to see where that wind is coming from.
I think it's blowing across the Mario Andretti back straight, so not too bad. But if the shift happens to be sort of 90 degrees to the left, so you'll be going with a west wind, I do think that'll be you'll see actually a lot more overtakes with a wind like that, especially given the fact that with the slipstream over here, I think we saw this last season, where everybody was sort of able to get up and go and start, being able to overtake people on the inside. And it was David Gaspers, not Gaskins. I got his last name wrong. I just remembered it's David Gaspers for the last point. And while these cars are not the most affected when it comes to air, Well, you mentioned it before. They don't have a very big. I would say it's a pipette of an engine compared to some of the cars that go around here.
Yeah, it's. I need to go back and look and see what the actual horsepower is in it. It is very light, I will say, though, so it doesn't need a lot of horsepower. But then when you get those hills, that's where it suddenly experiences the lack of power in it. And the warm-up now ends, which means it's time to head to our starting grid here today. And Simon Mayer is on the pole. He's going to see what he can do over Reese, as Arabian will be starting next to him. And Dudu Castro, who has recently entered the series, is once again looking quick. Reese, all the way down in fourth, will be followed by Ian Gibson in P5. Evandro Dantas will be in at 6, and Niels Sinkowski in the 7th position. To his outside, it is Scott Browlier. And then you've got Jim Brewster in 9th, and Flavio Andalo rounds out your top 10.
In 11th is going to be Kenneth Batley, 140-629 fame. Jim McGill in 12th. Tom Gradwell in 13th. Frederik Richtig in 14th. Rocco Horvath in 15th. Johan Patenga all the way down in 16th. Needs to get himself back up there and start fighting through the top 10. Justin Huffman in 17th. Artur Loreiro in 18th. 19th is going to be Vincent Ball. Running at your top 20 is going to be Paul Jackson. Now, we actually did have a lot more people sign up for this week. We actually have a row 3 or a section 3. Jeremy Lewis in 21st, Jeff Cantor 22nd, David Davis in 23rd, Rolly Foster 24th. Jameson Huffman is the one of 4 to not qualify. Rob Hobb in 26th, Ethan Ginn in 27th, and finally Russ Lundberg will be running your top 28 drivers that have signed up for today. Now, it's not all of them going to be out there at one time. I did see Rob Hopp and Russ Lundberg. I think they're going to be taking the pits. And Rocco Horvath did not take to the grid either.
Okay, well, starting from the back, again, they'll have the slipstream. For what it's worth, it looks like Rocco lost connection, so internet playing against him. I did look up the information about this car, and the V in the name is for a Volkswagen Type 3 1200cc engine that is in there. And it is also a stock Volkswagen transmission, hence why the four-speed that they have in there. As for the horsepower, I'm not seeing it listed on here, and it is from a pre-1963 Volkswagen Beetle. So if our fans watching in the peanut gallery know what the horsepower was for a pre-1963 Volkswagen Beetle, let us know, and then we can give you those stats.
Well, I'd imagine it's probably like a few dozen.
56 or something.
A few dozen. It's probably a multiple of 12, but I mean, you're talking about 3640 horsepower. 1200 cc's, it's air-cooled as well. So you won't be seeing many radiators on these things. There is a little air scoop on the right-hand side and the left-hand side if you look at the back of the engine bay. But not much else powering these cars. And I mean, the pace car probably is trying to, feather the throttle, try and let these guys catch up.
Also, I mentioned the weight. They're only 125 pounds dry. So, there is not much to them. They're meant for drivers to get into racing. So this is essentially, and this isn't to denigrate the drivers, this is baby's first race car, essentially. So, but there are a lot of real-world drivers that hop in and start in these things and work their way up, and as the name implies, weekend warriors who get out and try and compete on the weekend. As the green flag is out, and it's a good one for Simon Mayer. In fact, he jumps well ahead of Dudu Castro and Florence Arabian. Looks like second place might go to Castro. The Floridian is going to be able to get underneath him, and yes, he is passed. Not seeing anybody spinning or wrecking through the first turn yet. Now they head into Clayton, which is flat out in these cars. Hopefully we won't have any problems through here.
Antonio Rees is trying to hound Florence Arabian. Florence having a very bad start. He's already lost a place, and he's probably going to lose it coming through Moss, and then trying to hold off players as they come behind him. Everybody's got their poker chips up on the table. They're about to splash them and try and show what kind of hands they got in their back pockets, because it is go time for Florence Arabian. He sees his target. It's going to be, that's Antonio Reese looking on his inside, trying to see if he can have a little bit of a look. He'll have a look again coming up the Mario Andretti straight, and it's side by side and back.
Yeah, I think that is Brailer and Gibson fighting for sixth position. Now, unfortunately for them, they're starting to lose touch on that slipstream, which looks like it's becoming a train from first to fifth. And we're going to go 3 wide for the lead. You can see it up in that shot to the inside. It is Castro with Arabian to the outside and Mayer in the middle, but Mayer is the one that has to back out. Castro is now your top spot.
Castro playing it very well. Florence Arabian also trying to play it, but Castro was just on the money. He was on the cards. He had a car ahead of him, but he also had Florence Arabian behind him. And now Florence is going to try and set up and wait to see if he can make the move doing the same thing. It is going to be 1, 2, 3, and 4, sort of the sequence by numbers, really. You kind of have to make sure that you're surgically perfect when you're making that move, because you want to carry as much speed as you can. And look at the gap that's forming behind him. 1.7 seconds between Evandro Dantas, the car number 32, and Ian Gibson in the 893. As I think everybody has now decided, all right, that's lap 1 done. Let's start doing this thing.
Had some sort of problem.
Oh, crikey, that's in the background. Sorry to cut across. That's going to be Frederic Riestig and Tom Gradwell off of the track.
Ooh, I was just about to say Butanga was our first one to have an issue. He just had a wheel off and was slow. But yeah, contact between Frederic and who was the other one you said involved? They went off at Quebec.
Yes, Tom Gradwell was the other person. They came together through, I think that's Quebec. Oh, a little bit of a touch in the rear, and Frederic just got slammed around. These cars are very, very sensitive due to any pitch or any movement in the suspension. Here we go again. You can just see the replay. That's going to be Tom Gradwell on the number. No, sorry, that's going to be Frederic in the 252. And bang, off he goes.
Yeah, unfortunately, Gradwell has had to take a tow because of that. And then something's happened to Jim McGill. He's in pit lane, and Neil Santowski as well. We should mention they have a spare car if they get damaged, so they can hop back into the pits and get a fresh one and get back out there racing. But it does cost you time, especially if it happens outside of the pit window, which we are right now. Meanwhile, Arabian gets back to the lead and takes the fastest lap. He's leading Dudu Castro just behind him, with Reese now into third. And for the fans of Rocco Horvath, he's not only caught the field, he's up into 20th already.
And he's started to put his seal of approval on his moves as well, because he's trying to recover from the issues that he was having, the internet issues that he was having. Dudu Castro, by the way, at the front, he's made no bones about it. He might have just a little bit early there, Dudu, because you've got a big old straight right ahead of you. I hope you have the inflatable tires or inflatable dinghies on the side of your car, because you're gonna have to make that as wide as possible.
Indeed, and well, I think Castro, Arabian, Reese, these are the ones that we're seeing swapping back and forth a lot. Well, Mayer and Dantas behind them are just kind of sitting and watching. I do see the yellow car of Evandro starting to look to the side, so maybe he's making a liar out of me. Let's see how it shakes out here.
But Antonio Reese, just out of nowhere, just sent it in the middle of the 3 wide, and off he goes.
He's going to take the point. Behind them 2 by 2. Now it starts to get single file. Castro back in a second, Arabian third, and yeah, Mayer and Dantas back to where they were before. So I get the feeling when it comes to pit stops, you're going to see the 32 and the 5 cars have a pretty short stop.
If poor old Murray Walker was alive today, he probably would have said, "I don't believe it," for Antonio Reese's move, because oh my dearie, because he definitely, it almost as if he was just sort of very silently judging both both Dudu Castro and Florence Arabian. I was just like, step aside, gentlemen. I'll make sure I get in first place.
Single file down through Quebec. They're also being chased by Brewster in the 933. Oh, and we got a problem. Isan Gin, and thought I saw somebody else off track with him. That was Jeff Cantor.
And Justin Huffman as well. That's a three-way issue there. That is going to be Justin Huffman having an issue into the grass. Spun around. It came back on track. And then I think Jeff Cantor and Isan Gin were in their own separate issue. But Justin Huffman is back going. We're having a replay now. You can just see, oh, that is a spin. And you can just see what that spin did. A crescendo of people sort of having to avoid it, and then the car is just getting very upset and the wall waiting to greet them.
Indeed. Reese going to drop back to third. So, well, he goes from third to first and now first to third. This time through Dudu back to the top spot. I've been kind of half watching that group behind that I mentioned. It's Brailer at the front of it now in the 210. It's about 1.8 seconds. So I'm going to see what the lap times look like comparatively. 41.6 for Mayer in front of them, 41.8. That was a little bit slower that time. It almost seemed like for a brief moment that this second group of five could try and run them down if they work together.
They could, if it's always part of the parcel of the problem is you try and negotiate. Hey, can we work together on this one? Can we? It only works up until the point where somebody gets very smart and it's like, now that we've worked together, unfortunately, more trouble back. That's going to be Vince Ball. Vince Ball having issues through the same corner. So a big corner to watch out for is that turn two, sweeping left-hander up towards Quebec. And
that started with Butanga. If we want an interesting onboard for either of those cars, Vince and Butanga both saved it, but we're both sideways through Clayton. Most cars, that is the death knell of your race, but these things aren't going quick enough. That seems like they are able to get them pointed forward before they lose pavement.
A bit of a benefit as well of the amount of tarmac. And as we go to the front here, we do see Dudu Castro on the combat with Farnes Arabian as they do battle on the very wide track. There's plenty of space for them to race, but also very much plenty of space to maneuver the car and get it into a good position. Dudu Castro not fighting that. He's just slotting it in between himself and Evandro Dantas, who's trying to hold off Antonio Rees, passing him on the same. Oh, crikey. That is going to be Antonio Rees going very close to the engine bay. And we've just had another accident. Jameson Huffman off again. Jeremy Lewis off. And Rocco Horvath just having to very narrowly avoid that.
Indeed, this starts with Loureiro in the 203 and the 89 tangling. And like you were saying before, it's a domino effect where everybody's racing so close with that slipstream, they don't have time to react to avoid it. And Rocco going to take a new car because of it.
Rocco Horvath, I think is he taking a new car? I think he's actually coming into he's in his pit stop. He's actually doing a pit stop.
He might still be taking
and he's missed his box.
Oh, so the bad day goes worse. For the 14, he gets going with about 8.9 seconds stationary. Here's the incident. There's the initial contact. That's Horvath going around the outside. He did make contact. I wonder if his suspension was a little damaged from that. Regardless, if it hit any of the bodywork, that's going to make life very painful on the long straights around here.
Yeah, because you could just see that is going to be the car of... that's the car. We're just looking at the poor left front wheel holding on for dear life as it's bouncing around. And another car into the pits. That is going to be... I think that's going to be the car of Jim McGill going into the pits.
Oh, we had another spinner with Frederic Rijsdijk. Oh, well, we don't need a replay. He hit a bump, and that sent him flying. That may have been a unceremonious exit, we'll call it, from him. As we watch the leaders, now led by Arabian. Castro just behind, still pulling along the same drivers. Hasn't been a change in here. It's up to 2.5 seconds to Scott in the 210 in that second group. So no, they are not gaining on them, unfortunately. There you see them on screen now.
The second group, I think, they've not even really attempted to try and work together, because I think everybody in that group is fighting. They're fighting their own little battles. So, as you can see here, the 893 trying to pass the 930, or getting passed by the 933 of Jim Brewster. The five of them are they're in their own group. They've got multiple battles in between. It's the cohesion's not there to try and get a truce going, as they do almost make contact there. That's Ian Gibson, Kenneth battling.
Yeah, Gibson was on the radio upset about something that happened on the backstretch. I think there was some movement he wasn't terribly happy about, as they are really swinging it into the corner, and somebody's lost it. Is that Evandro? No, that looks like the lap car. Sorry.
That is, unfortunately, the Formula B. That was Jim McGill in the Formula B car having a bit of an issue. And then we can see here Dudu Castro retaking the lead off Florence Arabian, as there is a 3 wide between Kenneth Batley, Brewster, and Brayler going into the final 2 turns. They've not got the slipstream to try and break away from each other. And again, this is not going to help them, as Dudu Castro and Florence Arabian battling up ahead.
They're going to go side by side. It's flat out through the first part of the S's. Then they got to give it a little lift to try and make it through here. But Castro in clean and takes the lead away. Reese got shuffled down to the back of that group. Brayler is actually still going side by side with Brewster. They went side by side through the S's and out of whites. And it's going to continue down into the first corner. Another one that requires no lifting. Is anybody going to give way? They're just punching a bigger hole in the air for everybody behind them. Up and over the crest of Clayton. Around the outside, we've seen some issues with drivers drifting a little too far out. Brewster almost does it, but keeps it on the pavement.
Brewster is trying his damnedest to get past Scott Brayler. Scott Brayler tucking in through Quebec. Well, I say that. He's gone off. No, keep it on. Keep it on. Don't hit the wall.
Yeah, Scott just saying that's what happens right there. Brayler is going to be able to hold on, but I'm not sure if Scott will be able to catch back up. And Gibson, once again, just giving a little bit of criticism about how this group is racing here. They are taking quite a few risks, it does feel like, at this stage. And we're not even halfway through it. You can see our leaders up the backstretch. They're catching up to a little bit of lap traffic. Arturo Loureiro just in front of them.
You have to remember as well that this is racing. You know, you will have, as we look at this group, just this will give me nightmares looking at this, because they're 2x2 wide, and then there's a fifth element of Antonio Reese in the back. He can make the ace play whenever he wanted to. He just needs the opportunity to present itself. The key issue, as we see, that is going to be, I think that is going to be Simon Mayer in the pit. Yes, Simon Mayer's in pits.
Yes, he is the fifth element. Is he the one that is love? So the 5 down on pit lane and nobody to join him. Could this wind up working a little bit like a Talladega race where you want a buddy to come with you?
You'd hope that there would be a buddy there with you, but with the way that these guys are driving, I don't think they'll be giving themselves or each other an inch, because the track is slipstream heaven. But at the very same time, if you are able to get on your own terms, you drive on your own. If you are allowing yourself the gaps behind and in front of you, I mean, you can make big plays like that. I mean,
sorry, Johan Butanga just had an off in Quebec. He was going a little wide. That is a marginal turn in this car. Got to give a lift to make it through. He was chasing David Davidson, and we just cut away as that happened. He may have lost his slipstream because of that.
Okay, almost gave me a heart attack there, but yeah, he did absolutely. He was so close, and then the car just gave way. If you get on the grass of these cars, it'll upset the car to no end. Back up into fifth though, and in front as well, Kenneth Batley and Flavio Andolo switching places, as is Dudu Castro and Florence Arabian. Jim Brewster also trying his fair share of the I want to be ahead of everybody else tactic. But the key thing is some of them have now cottoned on to the idea that was what David Gaspers did back when he was racing. We just had a collision. That is going to be David Davidson and Paul Jackson down in 12th and 13th having collision.
Ooh, yeah. And I'm guessing that they've hit each other. The fact that they're both off track. Ooh, yeah, this was a bit of an awkward one. Jackson tried to swing in from the outside. Davidson tried to take it on the inside, and they met in the middle.
And that is one very poorly car. Really poorly car. Oh, just look how intertangled they get. With the open suspension, these cars, if you catch a wheel on the inside of somebody else's car, it's almost like it's a cork in a bottle. It really, you're sort of along for the ride at that point, and you just get spun around, cop right back in, and off you go. Oh, yeah, that's gonna hurt.
Yeah, they were passengers, so they just flew off into the tire barrier, and they're gonna have to take a tow and grab their spare cars. Mayer, by the way, is in 12th right now after his pit stop, and he was running alone. Now it looks like he's got Jim McGill with him. So we come back to our leaders, continuing to catch up to the lapped car of Loureiro. I thought they were going to get him much quicker than that. 3 wide. Comes down to what looks like Reese leading.
Why did they prove me wrong every? I was thinking to myself, oh well, you see, again proving me wrong. I would have thought that Antonio Reese, with the way that he was hanging back for a few laps behind the front two of Forns and Dudu Castro, as was Evandro Dantas. Correction, sorry, I've messed up his name a few times now, but he's been holding back. He's been very methodical. You see more and more cars pulling into the pits, and that is one of the two that we just mentioned, by the way, who had that very painful accident. That is going to be Scott Bralier and Jim Brewster in the pits.
Just seeing Mayer come across for the first time at a flying lap of 41.2. That's his fastest lap of the race. That's an interesting sign. So what are they doing up at the front? 41 flat. So he's running about even with our leaders currently. Probably not going to lose touch with them, but I don't think he's going to jump them either.
Well, does he need to jump them? That's the question. And the answer would be, it depends. If he's fuel saving, absolutely not, because he'd be able to get them in the pits. And from what I see, is, if I'm being honest, is that he is doing exactly that. He's not trying to push the car. He's fuel saving where he can. He's making sure that he's got the slipstream going up the backstretch on the Mario Andretti straightaway. And then if he needs to, he'll make the pass, but only if it's necessary. I think he's putting his mind to paper, and you can just see Antonio Reese getting passed by Forens Arabian. He tried using the slipstream of the lapped car going into the final 2 turns. Not enough.
Nope, they're easily passed. He just wanted to let them by. He was getting those blue flags. Knew there was no point trying to get involved in what is the battle for the lead here. And next lap by, they are going to be past the halfway mark officially in this race. Still, let's see, lap time by Arabian of 41.2. Mayer still have to wait for him to come through with his pit stop done. He's been kind of working together with Jim McGill. Those two swapping positions. Jim a lap down from him, so he's got no horse in this race, just basically playing along, since he might as well get someone to give him a tow. And Mayer crosses the line with a 41.6. So about 4/10 slower than Arabian. He might actually be a little bit in trouble of losing slight touch with the group.
It also might. Yeah, it depends on how much if the group ahead continues to battle, and if Mayer breaks away as much as he can, then oh crikey, that's going to be Antonio Reese getting past a very wide Forens Arabian, who had a very big line through Moss. Dudu Castro is definitely going to be capitalizing on that, as Antonio is trying to hold the inside line. That is going to be Forens Arabian in the middle. The 3 wide is open. Dudu Castro holds to the right. He does not overtake.
I think it was a tiny touch of the dirt on the outside of Moss that caused Arabian to have to go as wide as he did. I went back and checked because I was kind of wondering, did he do that on purpose? Is he trying to time this out? Is he thinking that sneaky, potentially, of can I get the slipstream and try and snipe the spot on the last lap, where if I'm leading up till that point, I just hand over that one spot and try and take it right back of my hands. Reese leads the way this time as they finish lap 13. Still nobody up in the top 9 coming into pit this lap. Everybody is staying out.
To answer your question, would it be easier to hand over the position at that point? I would have said no, because the lap times disagree. They were quite a bit slower on that last lap because the way that Forens actually did go offline and actually lost that position actually backed up everybody else around him. And it's a straightaway with these kinds of cars that really rely on us carrying as much speed as you can through the corners. They lost half a second. Each of them lost half a second over that last lap. So,
well, I'm talking on the last, the final lap when they come around. Would it behoove you to give up the lead here off the exit and then just slingshot right back past them? It's a question we ask a lot: is do you want to be leading or do you want to be trailing on the last lap?
Trailing on that last lap, no discussion. But you also have the problem of there's more than one car. There's more than one car and yourself on the track, as you can see. Rise of Arabian going back around to Antonio Reese. It all just depends on where you sit in the sequence, and if you can, in no other words, but to manipulate the sequence by making calculated quote-unquote mistakes or going wide, letting the car by, and trying to slot yourself into a perfect position to attack, get that position back, and then hold it for when you cross the line. But that does also expect that the other drivers aren't also thinking the exact same thing and watching their mirrors and you to make sure that they are ahead of you when the time comes.
That's a good point. As they come out of the first corner, and I heard Arabian getting on the radio about something. Okay, he's complaining about the cloud cover. It sounds like he hasn't been happy about how dark it is out on the track.
Well, these things don't have lights, so I mean, if he's not got his monitor set up right, he could have a little bit of an issue with driving, especially given the fact that with it being overcast, it's night and day. The difference, like in terms of brightness on the track. As you can see, we're on board with him now as he comes through Moss again. Does he make the same mistake? No. Yeah,
night and day. Or if you're a film buff, it is night for day here with this cloud cover. And coming back up the Andretti straight, Arabian going to give the toe to Reese this time, who's going to come along his right-hand side. Meyer last lap, 41.4. Reese, 41.5. Yeah, he's still within range, but we have to wait and see what the pit stops hold for this front group. Everybody from 10th on down has had at least one stop. Some of them may have stopped a little early, so they might need to pit at least one more time in there. And as you jump back to this second group, you can see how far behind they've now fallen with all the messing around that they've been doing. It's 6.5 seconds up to fourth place. Oh, and is this Horvath?
Oh, a bit of an issue for him. He's had it in his hands, and that move just sent him down the pecking order. By the way, Simon Mayer is absolutely gunning it right now. He has to.
And this is Castro and Dantas in. So that's two of our front group again. This will give us a good idea of where Mayer will sit. And it is somewhat longer stops for both of them compared to Mayer, but remember, it seems like they've been running slightly faster laps. Simon coming around, and he is indeed going to be ahead of them, not by a huge margin, but a decent one.
Keeping it nice and straight, keeping his right foot planted, and just do your damnedest, I think is the motto once you get out of the pits. And you just see now, just having to hold pattern coming through Quebec. I don't know, is it Quebec or Quebec? That's the age-old question. How do you pronounce it?
I'm an American, so I say Quebec.
Well, let's say Quebec. So, unfortunately, the Canadians will have to tell me if I'm right or wrong. As well, I mean, there's nothing right or wrong about that. That is a move right there by Forens. He very, very quickly makes past Antonio Reese. Antonio actually, I think, let off the throttle, trying to let him by. He didn't make no bones about it because there's only the two of them now. There's no point fighting between each other. Back and forth, Flavio Andolo is trying to overtake Ian Gibson, but Ian Gibson having none of it.
Indeed, that second group still waiting to pit in. So now we need Ball, Andalo, Gibson, Batley, Reese, Arabian to all take stops. You see the front pair separated by not but a tenth of a second. This might be a little easier to work together, though, between these two, just trying to leapfrog one another, where you see the three cars together, Batley, Gibson, and Dallo down through the blind Clayton corner. Are they pulling along a fourth still? Jeremy Lewis, I think. Yeah, he's a lap down, though, so that's not for position.
It's constantly, you know, hoping that the other drivers will stick around you and try not to overtake, get past you, upset you. By the way, Scott Brayler, he's just had an accident just coming across the start-finish line. He is down the pecking order now himself. Just saw the remnants of the exit of him trying to get back on track, losing the car through the exit, having to go back around again, but he's not going to be a happy camper in that car right now.
Yeah, he had to pull a three-point turn to get the car turned around because he came to a halt on the entry to pit lane. And once again, handing it over, Reese backed up to the top, Arabian following him through. 13 minutes left. I mean, with how much of this track is full throttle, I can't imagine they're going to go all that far. But what's the fuel distance going to be like here at this very thirsty circuit? Well, longer than this lap. They're going to hit lap 17, neither coming in.
I think if they both thought it was the good time to pit, it would have been now. But what did I say that? The group behind them, kind of Batley, Ian Gibson, and Flavio Andolo, all three of them have decided to be the Three Musketeers, but the Three Musketeers in the pits.
Yes, so they are going to now take their service, and we'll see how much ahead Mayer is going to be. Looks like Dantas and Castro have not caught up to Mayer, actually. They're still separated. They're trying to catch him, but it's a gap of, looks like about 2.5 seconds, roughly, up to Cantor, who's at the tail of the trio that's being led by Mayer. So they're going to have to start hustling. I thought that maybe they would be able to reel him in a little bit, but they haven't done that yet.
And you can thank Simon Mayer's great pit stop, by the way, because he was half a second from cone to cone. He was half a second faster than the two of them. And he's actually had the fastest lap of the entire field, or the second fastest of the entire field on that last lap, 1:48.62. Only bested by Kenneth Batley, who did a 1:46.66. As we see back again, the same thing happening between the two of them. Antonio Reese is letting Florence Arabian by, trying not to make any bones about it. It is the quandary of the race for these cars at Canadian Tire, and you know, the less you fight it, the easier it is going to be. But like the three behind them, the two are now coming into the pits.
And that will be the last two that need their stop. We've lost 4 drivers so far in this race. Sinkowski, Huffman, both Jameson and Justin Huffman, by the way, and David Davidson are officially retired. Rijdik has been in pit lane for some time, taking repairs. We're not sure if he plans to return or not. So here we go. Mayer, is he also going to jump Arabian and Reese? Arabian with a pretty decent stop. Same thing with Reese. Both of them just over 10 seconds. Still a little bit longer than Mayer's, but he's going to come out, it looks like, with Forens.
And Forens holding as best he can. He has lapped traffic, though, and if he doesn't be careful, he could have had 2 more cars behind him, proving to be difficult. But he absolutely gunned it out of the pits. He saw Simon Mayer's car behind him and said, oh dear, I need to get going. Sorry chaps, I'll take less fuel in a minute. And that is going to be, I think that's going to be Scott Brayler, car number 210. He's limping back to the pits.
I think he's out of fuel. I think he must have failed to, no? Or is he?
No, look at that front left, Joe.
He hit the wall sliding through turn 8. I wonder though if he did actually get run out of fuel a little bit, though. Like he was trying to stretch it to this lap, and he just wound up using the last of it, having to try and get going there. Regardless, on screen, this is still Mayer, your leader. And Arabian has stuck with the slipstream. In fact, he's going to try and take the lead back.
Simon Mayer really having to put out no defense because he's already gone past. He's just used the slipstream to the maximum effectiveness. Lapped Carl off the Formula B. That's going to be Jim McGill. Really, you can't push these guys. You can theoretically, but I mean, I wouldn't do it. Be a very, very, very scary time. Try and push these cars NASCAR style, and just a masterclass of just being able to hold his nerve, not get into panic over the fact that he was behind Mayer at the pit stop, and now he's back ahead.
And it looks like Antonio Reese has officially lost touch with him. He's 2.2 seconds back. He could use some of the lap traffic in front of him, try and catch back up. That's Jeff Cantor between them. And he might have some help from some unlikely friends. Dudu Castro, and, well, that was Jim McGill off. Well, there goes the friend from Meyer.
Unfortunately, the Formula B is not the Formula B anymore because he's in the pits. But what's even worse for them now is going to be the fact that, or for Antonio Reese in specific, is that he's lost. Not only has he lost them, he's got cars behind him that will be faster than them. The cars behind him would want to get past. They'll want to, continue battling. And Dudu Castro is part of that group behind him, so he'll be under threat almost immediately.
Yeah, unfortunately for Jim, it was touching the grass that stung him, and he is now pretty much out of this race as he had to take a tow. Meanwhile, as you mentioned, it's a fight for the last step on the podium now. Reese, Castro, and Dantas, they're coming into the S's to try and decide that. They've left most of the lap traffic behind them. Jeff Cantor just splitting the last two in this train. But the giant question mark over the 6 and the 5 car leading this race is who puts themselves where on the last lap, and will trying to slipstream by be enough to try and get the job done as we watch on board down through Clayton Corner and into Quebec.
It'll be Simon Mayer's race to lose from my own predictions. If he's able to hold his nerve, he could theoretically put Florence Arabian in a sticky situation where it's going to be either he has to, as you said before, let him go by and try and do a switcheroo and a reverse Uno, if you will, if you're into card games, on Simon Mayer. But Simon Mayer now is in control of this group of two, so it's maybe Farron spoke too soon when he overtook him back.
Yeah, I think you might be right, but here comes Mayer. He's got a bit of a run, but he lifts. Okay, so I think he's thinking what you're thinking, which is he just wants to sit and watch and wait. Meanwhile, behind them, Castro now ahead of Antonio Reese. Boy, Evandro, he might lose touch if he's not careful. He's finally gotten past Jeff Cantor, but he's looking up the road, and there's about a 1.1 second gap to Antonio.
Antonio is in a bit of a bother right now because he is having to come to the realization of the fact that not only has Dudu Castro passed him, Evandro he's no slouch himself, so he could be putting Antonio Reese really in a state of pickle, and it's not going to be fun for him because I'd imagine he wanted to have his race and sort of play it out as he did for the last 5 rounds, where he played the race to his advantage. He played the race to how he wanted it, but now it just seems like it has turned, the tables have turned really much against him.
Now, one thing we haven't taken into account, while this track is usually known for the grass causing many cars to wreck, if anything, it still gives you incident points. And so while these cars aren't as fast and they've been able to flirt with that a little bit more because of that, could we see some drivers getting drive-through penalties? I don't see any yet that have fallen victim to that, but it only takes 12 of them before they trigger that.
And I can imagine there is going to be at least one person that does it. Simon Mayer having a go around the outside. Simon Mayer has now decided to strike this time around. I'm not sure that's the smartest thing to do, Simon. Remember, laps mean everything. Remember, time means everything. And it is going to be difficult to see if he's made the right move. We'll have to wait until the last lap, really. But that is Ian Gibson and Kenneth Batley also going at it between each other.
Got down into 8 and 9. Gibson currently sitting in 6th position. Batley 7th, and Andalo is with him as well, with a nice top 10 for him today. Haven't even touched on it, but Reese is our highest Masters driver up there in 3rd, and our highest AM is Flavio Andalo, sitting in 8th place. Butanga is the next one back, but he's 17 seconds off of Flavio, so he's not really a threat right now.
Having to hold as best he can is Flavio Andolo, as is quite a lot of people sort of stuck in a sort of dependency on what the other cars are doing around them and what they can do in terms of making moves. You know, they have to really be careful as well. As you said, the incident limit, there's been a lot of drivers that have actually spun. I mean, the grass has taken them to tow-away land, as it were, because they've had to tow the cars back to the pits. Again, here we go. That is going to be Florence Arabian on the inside of Simon Mayer.
And apologies, it looks like Gibson is our highest Spec 2 driver in the 893. So he is in a fight with Andalo for that S2 lead. And I just heard something on the radio from Arabian about you can, and then something the last lap. What that sounds like that may have been vital to what is going to be happening here, because we are 2 to go, and they have certainly stretched themselves far enough away that Castro and Reese have not been able to gun them down.
It's their own battle at this moment in time. Essentially, it just is a sort of a, how would you put it? It's like having a pair of cards in your hand when you're playing, like, you know, poker at home, and you're trying to, you know, see what the other guy is doing. They're trying to bluff your way, and then see, and it all comes up, you know, it all comes down to the last lap. It's like show your cards or fold. You know, you have to make the decision, or you have to back off your decision. That is what Simon Mayer is going through his head with right now. If he overtakes here on the second last lap, that is going to be very bad for him, because Florence Arabian, all he has to do is just overtake him on the last lap, and that's it. He'll have won the race then.
Yep, and they're going to get the white flag this next time by, and Mayer, he's going to take it. He's going to grab that first place with the white flag waving. Is that a mistake? Florence Arabian is now going to have to try and slipstream past up this same backstretch in about a lap's time. And the number 5 through turns 8 and 9 just has to give a little lift here down through White's corner and accelerating away towards that white flag. 1 to go for our pair here in round 6 of the Formula V Weekend Warriors.
And it is going to be absolutely Florence Arabian's race to lose at this point, because he's now in the hot seat. He's got the keys to the first step of the podium, really. All he has to do is wait until the final lap on the backstretch. We are on the final lap. The backstretch is coming up. So all he has to do, hold the slipstream, pass, and that's him winning. I think Simon Mayer made the mistake. I think he went too early for what it's worth.
Yeah, I agree. And here you see him closing in. I have to think he's probably going to back up this corner a little bit, try to enter it wide. Yep, there you go. Launch off it, really try and get the power down what little he can under that right foot. But he's 0.4 of a second back. That's a little ways behind. And here comes the weaving. Mayer going to try and break that slipstream. Down to the inside he goes, at least for turn 8. That one's flat out. And Arabian is close enough. He's catching him. Pulls off to the left-hand side. Up to 90 miles an hour they get here, cresting the hill on the Mario Andretti straight. He's not fully passed, though, and he's on the outside. Does he dare try and chop down to take it away? He can't. There's a car there. He'll have the inside for the next corner. That'll help him get at least a little bit ahead. Mayer tries to stick with it, wants to get inside, but he's covered off, and Foreign's Arabian is going to be able to take the win here at Mosport, back to the top step.
And Antonio Rees, unfortunately for him, it's all gone wrong, and it's all gone wrong for somebody else as well. Ian Gibson, he's gone off at the second to last corner, and he is down into 8th. It's all gone wrong for him. Evandro Dantas will take the final top 5 position.
And Dalo will be your winner in the Spec 2 class. Reese wins the Masters, but for the first time this season, he does not finish second or higher. Wow, okay, that will change things in the overall. Oh, and somebody's out of fuel. I think it's Rocco. It is Rocco Horvath dropping a couple spots right at the end. 14 drivers able to finish on the lead lap. Jeremy Lewis, I think, the last of those. As we see the rest of them come across the line, we're going to take a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing Channel. We'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, so stick around.
This is iRacing, the world's premier online racing game. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat to experience today's newest form of competitive motorsport, virtual racing, all from your home PC. Race virtually in endorsed series from NASCAR, IndyCar, IMSA, the World of Outlaws, Aussie Supercars and more. Take on legendary circuits like Daytona, Silverstone and the Nürburgring. Join iRacing's global online racing community and get on track today at iRacing.com.
Welcome back to Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, better known as Mosport. It delivered on its classic action, but in a bit of a different way with these Formula Vs. A slipstream race all the way to the end, and Foreign's Arabian managed to call it right, coming up from behind on the Andretti straight, passing and defending just at the right moment to take the victory. Simon Mayer was second after taking 2 back-to-back wins there in the previous 2 rounds. Still, that's a good podium for him in his hunt for the championship. Dudu Castro was P3, and Antonio Rees, for the first time, finishes lower than second with a 4th place today, but he won in the Masters race. Evandro Dantas was 5th. Kenneth Batley was P6, second in the Masters class. And then the winner of the Spec 2 was Flavio Andalo, 7th overall. Ian Gibson behind him, 2nd in the Spec 2 class, 8th overall. And then Butanga, 3rd in that class, 9th overall. Rocco Horvath rounds out the top 10, running out of fuel at the line.
Then down from there, it is Jim Brewster in 11th, Vince Ball 12th, Isan Ginn in 13th, Jeremy Lewis 14th, Jeff Cantor in 15th, Tom Gradwell, he did come back out after his accident with the spare car and came 16th, Paul Jackson 17th, Scott Brayler in 18th, Raleigh Foster 19th and 20th, and 4 laps down was Arthur Lodorio. Jim McGill in the Formula B, unfortunately, didn't make it to the end. He was 6 laps down. And then we get to the retirees. Davidson did not cross the line, as did Justin Huffman. Federico Ristig with the accident at the corner before Quebec. Unfortunately, he was actually the accident at Quebec. Unfortunately, cost him his car, and he did not come back out. Jemison Hoffman in 25th, Nielsen Kowski, we didn't actually see what happened to him, but he retired in 26th. Rob Hopp and Russ Lundberg actually did not take to the grid.
And that's going to take us to our winner here today, Forens Arabian, who, with that victory, will hopefully bring himself a little bit more into the hunt. And Forens, your first win since round one at Lime Rock. And just like Lime Rock, this is a track with not much in the way of braking. Do you feel like those tracks serve you well?
In this case, it was more of a strategy call. I was lucky enough to work with Antonio on most of the race, and it was a point where we had to decide if we wanted to continue on low gas or pit as soon as possible.
I see. Well, it allowed you to catch up to Simon after the pit stop, but not Antonio. So then it became down to a head-to-head for the final laps and the run to the line. Were you surprised that Simon allowed you to have second place coming to the white flag?
I was actually very surprised. We were actually communicating right before that point, and I was expecting him to just stick behind me and give me the last lap in front so that he gets the straight draft.
That's what we expected too, but it was not to be. And you're finally back up at the top. I'm not sure what caused you to miss the previous round, which will most likely go to your drop races. Knowing that, as we head off to Tsukuba, back to another tight and twisty track with a lot more braking, can you get back to this where you can close the gap to Antonio?
I'm pretty sure. It's just I'm really glad this year it went well at Mosport, being Canadian. Last year was 2 DNFs in the Spec Ford and also in this car. So I don't have an issue with tight tracks, but there's some certainly drivers that are better at it than me.
All right. Well, congratulations again on the victory. Anybody you want to thank?
Thanks to you guys and the top 5, we made it out of the group pretty safely and did a good race, I would say. Simon, congrats for second, and Antonio, thanks again.
That was Forens Arabian, your winner here. And speaking of Simon Mayer, it sounds like Robert's caught up with him, who finished second today after starting on the pole.
Mr. Mayer, how are we? It's unfortunate that you did come in second, but it was very close into the end. How did it go out there?
Yeah, hi guys. First of all, thanks to the guys who helped me put a great quality lap in to put me on pole. There was a group of 4 of us, and they all played ball, so that allowed me to start on the pole. And then we were in a group of 5, I think 5 of us in the lead pack. Decided to roll the dice and pit early, and the undercut can work here quite well, which I think it proved, finishing second.
Now, you did decide at the second last lap to overtake Forens Arabian, and you did try and hold him off as much as you can. Now, we did see you go into the final corner and try and sneak him on the inside. Was that the plan all along, or was it as it comes, we will handle it?
About 5-6 laps towards the end, I was pretty dodgy on fuel, so I had to try and save a little bit because I wasn't sure if I was going to make it to the end. And then it was just racing. The last couple of laps, decided to take it onto the last lap in the lead. Again, roll the dice. Forens was better today. All credit to him. Last sequence of corners, he got the better of me, and I wasn't going to stick out the inside on the last corner. Don't do that. So fair play to him. Good race.
And finally, before we get into other stuff, did you at any stage after the pit stop did you what were you sort of trying to aim for lap times and therefore get ahead on the pit stops, or were you just thinking to yourself, fuel?
No, straight after the pit stop, hot laps for probably 10 laps, I would think, as fast as I could go. And I had to. That's the time you have to put your foot down. And if you're in the lead or near to the lead after that, then you can look at the fuel situation. But no, straight after the pit stop, as fast as those go. And to be honest, I wasn't held up too much, got through the traffic reasonably well, had a couple of good tows as well, so that put me in good position.
Perfect. Now, before we let you go, do you have any thanks or any shout-outs you'd like to give?
Yeah, first of all, to the sponsors, 42 Stitches, for putting all this together and making it all possible. So thanks to Jim. Thanks to all the organisers, you guys for broadcasting, and a big thanks to everyone who turned out today. The turnout was very good, so I hope that can continue.
Perfect. Simon Mayer, pleasure speaking to you as always, and we hope to see you next week, my friend.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
And that was Simon Mayer, and we hand it back to you, Joe.
Indeed, and we've got Dudu Castro, who finished third today, exactly where he started this race. But what was interesting, Dudu, is we saw you definitely swapping back and forth for the lead quite a bit. Did you ever consider dropping back and kind of do what Simon did and just kind of saving fuel behind those guys that were having a lot of fun up there?
Oh, hi guys. Good to be here. Good to talk with you for the first time. Well, I was a little bit lost. Technically, I'm still a little bit lost in this league. This is my third race. I'm not understanding exactly how much fuel, should I end. And I think that was the difference for being third place. My car ended with 0.9 liters. Simon ended with 0.2. So I think my problem was spending 0.7 liters more in the pit than to do an undercut. But yes, this is a tough race. Those guys are really experienced on this car, and I'm still learning it. It's kind of new for me.
But with it being new, what are your thoughts on this style of track where we race a track that may be a little too big for this car and it winds up being all about the slipstream? Do you like these sort of races, or do you want it to be tight and twisty like when we go back to Tsukuba next week?
Well, yes, you said correctly. The track is a little bit big for this car, but doesn't make the race less fun. The race was really fun. Sometimes I didn't need to go, for the full apex. I could do like half of track to be fast. I didn't know we're gonna be in Tsukuba next week. I really love it, Tsukuba. It's one of my favorite tracks, and I think this car will be fun racing there. So I'm glad I can bring the speed to there too. I was fast here, but unfortunately I still need to learn a little bit of those pit strategies as Forens and Simon does, and I can't forget to congrats them. They're pretty amazing what they're doing right now.
Yeah, it seems like those pit strategies can kind of make or break wins in this series. With you sitting fourth coming into this race in the Spec 1 Championship, do you have goals or aspirations on where you want to finish in the points? You've missed the first two, but your drop weeks will hopefully help swallow that up.
Yeah, well, my first goal is to be on the podium. I think my second goal is hopefully win someday. I still learn in the car. I think I got a good set. This car doesn't let us do a lot of things on the setup, but it's fun to understand how does it plays. But anyway, yeah, I think my goal is to be winning and be ending the best that I can. I think it's gonna be that's what I can do because I missed the first two, as you said.
All right. I think that's reasonable, and we look forward to seeing you up at the top step eventually. Anybody you want to give a thank you to while we've got you for this third place?
Oh, well, thank you guys for the amazing broadcast you guys always do. Thanks the guys that organize the league. I think the sponsor too that are providing us, being racing here, and of course my family that understands being, after lunch. In a sunny Saturday, racing on a simulator. But yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah, I think everybody needs that big thank you to their family for helping support these hobbies. And that was our third place finisher, Dudu Castro, who took the podium today. we're going to close up with a big thank you to the sponsor as well, 42 Stitches. Check them out at 42stitches.com and let them put together a package especially for you. Also, thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcasts listed here on your screen. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. Thanks to the team today, Rob, Zach, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media listed on the screen. Also, check out our merchandise store at simracingmerch.com/GSRC. We keep a link in the description below. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. As we mentioned, the next race is at Tsukuba on Saturday, October 30th at 4 p.m. Eastern. But we also have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. So check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Up next, later tonight, the Outsider Racing League goes to Chicagoland. That'll be at 10 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.